You know me, I'm not one to talk about my ass.
It's true.
No, never.
Absolutely not.
You're more you talk about your tits way more.
I talk about my tits way too much. But there's a lot of ground to cover.
Hey-o.
Hey! I won't say, well, they're covered in, but semen, it's semen, everyone. Anyway, the point is sometimes I like to start this show with some observational humour. Certainly the kind of observational humour that would be relevant to our listener base of clapped out, broken down old husks. Very much like 2/3 of this podcast. Laura, yeah. I hate you for your youth.
It's true.
I was there going like, am I the not destroyed one?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Very cool.
Not yet, darling.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you know something I don't about the state of my body? It's entirely possible.
I mean, you know, in order to be on this podcast, I had to run extensive background checks on both of you. I like to think I know you more than you know yourselves. Which, Conrad, get it checked out.
I'm going. I'm going.
The itch will not go away with cream. The point is...
What if you just scratch it hard enough?
Oh, it's got me thinking about Cube. I watched Cube Zero at
yeah.
I was at Laura's, Laura and her lovely wife Jane, because I had a meeting with Ponkel in London last week. So I was at Laura's. We went, but we'll talk about this now. I was just going to talk about how annoying suppositories were, and that there should be a video game about trying to get it in and keeping it in, because there's nothing more terrifying than realizing you didn't do a good job. And you're feeling an escape attempt. But anyway,
now we've got horror films to talk about.
Now we've got horror
wait a
films
minute. What about a game from the perspective of the suppository?
Oh, that's true. Oh, yes. Would it be trying to stay in or trying to make a bid for freedom?
It's a great question. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Maybe
both.
Maybe both. Maybe it's wrestling with the decision to stay or go.
Oh, a moral choice, like all video games were obliged to have in the 2010s.
So yeah, we saw Cube Zero.
Yes, please.
Cube Zero. Amazing. A couple of years ago, Laura introduced me to Cube, the first one. Because I'd never, despite being a big fan of the Saw films, I never watched The Cube. And it's fun.
For anyone who's never seen it, it's a horror film in which a bunch of people are, as the name suggests, dropped in a cube together. And then it's unclear how you get out the cubes. Some of the cubes are trapped. It's like, it's an interesting, fun little horror film of just like, we had one set and we had to stretch that as far as we could. Cube Zero is something else entirely.
Yes. Cube Zero is fascinating. It's got some traditional Cube film like storyline in it, with people in the cube trying to avoid death traps and scratching their arm and melting. And then half the film is set outside of the cube, the first time the franchise ever did that. And it's two schlubs, essentially, who monitor the cube. And they're just like, low-paid workers looking at screens of shit going on in there.
It's half of this film is, what if there were two people that Jigsaw had employed to watch the saw traps and just make, like, very mundane paperwork notes?
Yeah, pretty much.
and then half of the film is the greatest villain ever put to screen, and a lack of any explanations of any of the technology that's suddenly happening.
Yeah, really, there's it dances on that line between mystery and just being fucking vague. But yes, I recommend folks look up on YouTube Cube Zero Jax, Jax, for the villain, who is whatever this entity running the cube experiments is. He's like senior management and comes down with his metal eye. It's really badly attached prosthetic metal eye, acting like fucking Rick Mail. Just great stuff, hamming it up. I want to see it with my God-given eye. Really good stuff.
Oh, total paralysis. They were not kidding. He's like, to say he chews the scenery would to undersell what he does.
Yes, it is a weird performance. It's so eccentric. The way he moves is weird. It's great.
For a film that had tried to be quite grounded for a lot of its runtime, suddenly this man walks in. He's got this fascinating silver prosthetic eye. But the first time he comes down the elevator, they add a little sparkle visual effect to make sure you definitely saw his cool eye.
It's cool is not the word.
I was gonna, I wouldn't have drawn attention. They thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have drawn any attention to it. But yeah, great stuff. For something more contemporary, Laura took me to the cinema, and we watched the new Final Destination film. Now,
that's
another series.
The Bloodlines.
Yeah.
This is another
good sign for any franchise horror film to include an installment subtitled Bloodlines.
Don't let Hellraiser put you off. I still remember watching Bloodlines at your place, Connor.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely high to the point of immobile.
That's the only way, because otherwise you'd get up and turn it off.
Couldn't escape. All I could do is weakly yell, "Shut the fuck up," movie at it. But yes, it's another franchise's Final Destination that, despite knowing I'd really like it, I just haven't watched it. I've watched bits of the first, because an ex of mine really liked it, so I kind of picked it up as a background thing. And I did appreciate the setup, the premise. But this is the first time I watched one. I was fucking howling throughout the whole thing. I haven't laughed so hard in ages.
It genuinely, despite the word Bloodlines being in the title, the best film by far in that series. It's great. It's amazing. It is some of the most well-timed, gruesome murder as a comedic punchline filmmaking I've ever seen.
The pacing is fantastic in that regard.
Well, it sounds like it's a series that understands what it is by this point and is doing that, as opposed to most series that make it to the bloodline point and have lost the plot.
The least spoilery thing I can detail about this film that will give you a sense of how knowing they are about what they're doing.
I know what this is.
There is a character in this film who is an old woman who her entire point in this film is Final Destination has been trying to happen to her for years, and she sees it coming. She's locked herself in a little house, and every time, a Rube Goldberg machine of death starts to happen, she, does something to stop it and starts shouting at the air, being like, "I see you, death! You thought just because I had a visitor coming over I'd be distractible. I see you trying to make a Rube Goldberg of death." The film knows that it is a Final Destination film and does not shy away from being incredibly aware of that.
Oh, yeah. To the point of near, cartoon level acting at points.
Mm.
The opening, that's just a cavalcade of slaughter. It's just one of the most contrived, overly complicated mass death sequences I've ever seen, and I was in hysterics.
The beautiful thing about the initial averted death in this one is it's about 2 or 3 times the length that they usually go for the initial averted death. And a lot of the things they set up are not directly things that are going to kill people later in the film. They are simply things that will show up later in the film to get you paranoid going, that's a thing from the first, is that going to be what kills them? Oh, that was from the first thing, is that going to be what kills them? It sets up so many red herring ways that things could die. You put it really well while we were watching, Steph. You described it as like a reverse Where's Wally?
It's like a Where's Wally, but yeah.
The death scenes start becoming, we're going to set up like 15 things in one scene and like put them front and center so you're convinced that's going to be the thing that kills them. And then ultimately it's none of the things that you thought it would be that kills them.
And yet,
they do a great...
all of the things that are teased are involved.
Yeah,
It's
you know,
brilliant.
they will all be relevant, just not at all in the way that, like, the setup leads you to think they'll be relevant.
And it somehow does this while still being really dumb and not clever in the best way.
That sounds like an ideal approach to horror comedy. That you keep the audience so off balance that and that's when they are susceptible to both of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Genuinely, this film, like, fucking fantastic. We had such a good time with it.
It's got one of the best endings I've ever seen. I will not spoil it, but it is I've rarely seen a film sum up its own ethos in such a direct and brutal fashion. But yeah, as soon as the credits had hit, I was screaming really
it really
loud.
left you with a sense of, the film's fucking over, go.
Yeah.
We're done with you, audience.
You got what you came here to see, you fucking dogs. And I did. I was paid in abundance. I loved it. We saw Megan as well. I've been wanting to watch that for years.
Yeah. That film had some very good, like, line delivery and pacing.
Yeah.
From its little robot girl villain.
There's a lot in it that you got to be incredulous about. Like, what the fuck? If that's a secret prototype, why is she allowed to take it to a kids' camping trip?
The sequel has been promoted. I was watching Hulu, and they had an ad for the sequel that was all of the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives cast members talking about Megan.
Amazing.
And that was the scariest thing I think I've seen in a long time.
There was a trailer for it at the cinema when we went to see Final Destination, and it looks like one of my favourite types of films, where the sequel is just this totally different, like, dramatic departure. Like, one of my favourite films is Gremlins 2.
Sure.
And part of the reason for that is how it is like, you know what, this is a different fucking film. And we don't care, and we are gonna we'll do a live action cartoon and dispense with the horror. And looking at the trailer for Megan 2, it's like, yeah, it's become some wacky sci-fi adventure comedy thing. And I'm here for it. Like,
agreed.
I don't think just doing Megan again would work. And I love it when a film knows that.
It seems like it's really trying to go like, look, we know that this robot is like a murderous psychopath robot, but like, what if she could be the good guy kind of in a slapstick adventure, but we know that she could be murderous and evil at any time.
I mean, they're basically skipping the first 3 Child's Play sequels, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Kind of.
I mean,
yeah.
Why not? Like,
right?
I'll give Megan credit. Like, even though the Child's Play remake kind of did this with the virtual kind of like toy pet thing. Megan's is still quite different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's some like thematic similarity, obviously, but Megan does stand as its own film, and I think it had the potential to go the route of any slasher movie, and keep regurgitating until it became a parody of itself. I highly respect that it looks like they've jumped straight ahead to parody, that they've just skipped. Because that trailer seemed quite fun and funny and different. And I'm all about that.
So yeah, we had a good time watching horror films this week.
Movie review podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that that's done, welcome to Podquisition. We talk about video games here when we're not talking about horror films sometimes.
We do.
Who's played stuff they want to talk about this week?
I've played 2 games this week, and some Clair Obscur, but I don't know that we need to talk about Clair Obscur again, unless people want to talk about Clair Obscur again.
If your thoughts have evolved any,
not especially. I'm still early in Act 1. You know, things that I can say. I'm still grappling with the statistical system and the Pictos. I keep forgetting that those adjust stats, and I'm only thinking of them in the context of the passive abilities they provide, which is something I'll have to overcome. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm still really early in the game. I've got a 4th party member, and I haven't found out whether or not I can have more than 3 members active in the party at a time. That's how not in this game I am. So
you can't, but the one that's not in your party does still gain experience, just slightly less.
Yes. I sort of figured.
Also, if you get a party, if your party dies, the members in reserve come out, and you can choose to continue the fight. And when they walk out, because this game drips in fucking style, text comes up that just says the last stand of Expedition 33.
Oh,
I love it. Like, just those little touches of flavor.
They're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're everywhere. I love, I mean, just that all of the flags have distinct expedition numbers.
Yes.
Perfect.
It's all these little world-building touches that don't require explanation, but just make that place feel so lived in.
Yep. But anyway, so I won't probably have significant thoughts on it for a few more weeks until I can actually log some time, but I'm still playing that.
Yeah. Well, me and Steph played some hours of a thing together at the weekend. We played some Deep Rock Galactic together.
We did.
Yeah. Which this is your first time putting any serious time into it, right,
Yeah.
Steph?
One of the other times I was at yours, Jane was playing it, and it looked interesting, so I downloaded it, and then just never got round to playing it. So yeah, this was the first time I actually got to properly dig in, as they say. Oh, fucking hell.
So for anyone who's not played this, it is you can play it in single player and you get a little helper robot, but it's designed to be played in co-op game where you're a bunch of dwarves sent down to planets in first person to do missions that generally boil down to collect resources, shoot alien bugs, and run back to your ship before the time runs out. How'd you find this?
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it a lot. Didn't take too long to get used to it. Like the first round, I didn't know what I was doing and found it very hard to get a bead on like the enemies when they came in. But
some of them are quite erratic in the way that they come at
they're
you.
erratic. The place is, often quite dark, and they don't contrast against the background and can come from any angle because they're all coming out the walls. But eventually, you get used to it and go with the flow of it, as you would with, any game. I get a lot of satisfaction out of smashing little glowing things out of walls. I found all of the character classes quite fun. I think there was one I didn't play with very much, the one with the turret.
The engineer,
I didn't get much of a try on that one, but the others I really liked. I liked the driller going through the walls. That's a lot of fun. I liked the gunner was cool. You know, it was very straightforward, but good stuff. And then I kind of gravitated in the end towards the scout, just because I really like lighting up dark spots in any game. I like to get the lights.
Yeah.
On.
It's so satisfying having the rather than having to throw glow sticks on the floor and get a little bit of you can just be like, nah, fuck it. This room is lit for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I would say it was when I felt my most useful, because the other classes have their roles. I know I wasn't useless in them, but still learning the ropes, you know. Didn't feel like I was as useful. But with the scout, I just really got to grips with that, and I got a good idea of what I was doing.
Yeah, early on, the driller is nice for, I'm struggling with the 3D map, and I want to just get to where everyone else is. I'm going to dig through the walls. The gunner is good once you have a handle on what the enemies are doing, because you have just infinite ammo to spray at them. But yeah, the scout is just a nice support one of being able to they synergize well with other characters. Jane was often making platforms, and then you were using the scout's zipline to zip up and land on the platform to dig stuff out that was high up to reach, and you got lots of things that mesh well with what other people are doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the classes are really well defined, and I think you pointed out that if you switch them up a lot, you really miss what the other ones can do.
They all have that one thing.
Yeah. If you stick with one, you get really used to the cool thing you can do and really rely on it. So
there's nothing like stopping playing the scout to make you absolutely hate the flares for lighting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had a lot of fun with it. It plays really nicely. It's got a really good aesthetic and general. I really like the tone of it.
It's just a fun little Moorish co-op thing.
Yeah,
Very easy to just sort of play back to back for a while.
Yeah, we burned easily
I think we
several
burned
hours on it.
Most of an afternoon.
Afternoon, yeah. And didn't even feel the time go. So I absolutely see why this thing has stayed the course for however long it's been now, 10 years.
Yeah,
or whatever
it's been nearly a decade. I think it's been now, and it holds up well. What about you, Conrad? What have you been playing this week?
I have been playing a Metroidvania that sort of popped up on my radar. I think I saw someone talking about it on Blue Sky. It's called Zexion. And it's a very traditional approach to a Metroidvania, with the character coming to an alien world where a energy type that had thought to have been destroyed because it was nearly used in the eradication of the universe has been discovered, and a whole bunch of various factions are going there to try and recover it, and you are one of them. And there's, ancient ruins there, and, it's Metroid. I don't know how to tell you. But this does do some pretty cool weapons stuff. You get a bunch of different guns, and so there's a lot of comparisons being drawn to Mega Man in that respect. I've only managed to get 2 of them. I'm still early in and doing that thing where I struggle to figure out where I'm supposed to go next. More on that in a second. But the guns that I have had a chance to experiment with are super cool. They will have, on one hand, a different firing pattern, and that may affect damage as well. I don't know. But they also all serve gameplay functions that are both very obvious and very subtle. The first weapon that I got is, I can't remember what it's called, but rather than a straight firing, it does like 3 projectiles forward, one straight ahead and then 2 at 45-ish degree angles, and they don't have the range that the single fire shot did, but you get that concentration. But what it also does is it will physically move certain blocks in the environment that you can't otherwise move, giving you access to other areas. But what it also does is push enemies. And that can be really useful in certain circumstances, but you don't realize it's doing it until you make the observation that, oh, this is also kind of pushing the enemies back a little bit when it hits them. And so specific enemies, that can be a huge advantage. The second weapon I picked up fires a projectile that is controllable independently. The way the controls are set up, you can move and aim with the directional pad to fire in 8 directions, or you can use the right analog stick to fire in 8 directions as you will, and they have a jump button positioned in a place that you can easily jump with the analog. It works really well. And so when using this gun with this projectile that you can move, it's just you fire it and move it with the analog stick, and it can go slow on its own and drift around while you then move a bit, and you can keep it on the screen, and it will destroy projectiles. So now it's also a really effective defensive weapon. Just smart application of ideas, cool navigational map design, there's neat stuff here, but I can't figure out where to go next a lot of the time. And one of the choices that they decided to make in this game is similar to a lot of Metroidvanias. There will be map stations where you can unlock your ability to view additional parts of the map that you haven't visited yet. But at the start of the game, this is also the only way to view the entirety of the map. Otherwise, you have a local map that extends to 1 or 2 rooms in all directions out from where you are, and that's it. It's the same as the minimap in your corner. It's no better. And that is so frustrating. That I have to try and remember how to navigate back to a map room to view the map and figure out where I might be able to go next.
I'm really not a fan of the trend of Metroidvanias not giving you reasonable access to a map. I remember the last one of these that really frustrated me was Carrion, a game that
sure.
I absolutely loved, other than the fact that that game just did not have a fucking map, and it was frustrating. Just, if you're going to have a genre that is about exploring deliberately obtuse environments, give me a good fucking map.
And the thing that burns me up is that the map is good. I will eventually get this map. It's an item. It's an upgrade to get the full map, which my mind's just it's struggling to comprehend that choice. But the map that they have is really good, and the developer is on, they're on Steam, they're taking feedback. They have improved the map based on user feedback. It now, if you know how most of these maps will have the little dot that tells you, oh, there's an item in this room. If you hover over it in the map, it'll tell you what the item is. And it'll replace it with a check mark when you've collected it, instead of just making it disappear from the map, so you can know that there was something there. There's good stuff here in this map, things that I 100% approve of. I wish it was available from the start, and I understand the vision of it, and the game has a randomizer, so they could just toggle it, make it an accessibility option. It's just a thought to eliminate that barrier. I'm still fumbling along through it, but I'm losing hours of my life trying to figure out what to do next. That could easily be cut in half if I could clearly see, I mean, I've opened up a map on my computer. I'm doing it. It shouldn't be necessary. Anyway.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a great game. I really, really like it. It controls very well. It's got cool enemy ideas, cool weapon ideas, good environments. Those rapid tubes that you move through, like sometimes in these games where you go in one and you get like, and you get like zipped around in pipes. But at this one, there are junctures that once you notice that you can like toggle your movement within them and take you to different areas. Now you're checking everything. It does the hidden wall, secret passage stuff everywhere, but it also gives you tools that make it possible to find them fairly easily. It's got so much good design from someone who, people who clearly appreciate the form of this type of game. It's really, really good, and I encourage people to check it out. I just can't deal with this map shit. No. Anyway, Zexion is good, caveat.
Also, I had to go and confirm, because I had a sneaking suspicion, that Zexion is also the name of a Final Fantasy... this started playing in my ears. I had to go and confirm my suspicions, just because of the way that name was formatted. Zexion is also the name of a Kingdom Hearts villain in Organization 13, because of course it is. It's got a big X in the middle.
Well, that does make sense, because I had, my thought when I heard the title was, well, this is the... And no offense, I don't mean this, but this is like, this is the 10-year-old, the 10-year-old dreaming up the name of his spaceship.
Right.
It really, it's, and I say that with love, because I was that 10-year-old boy once, and I get it, and it's a little cringe, but cringe is good. I support cringe. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, we don't shame cringe in this house.
No. But it definitely has that vibe.
Yeah. What about you, Steph? What have you been playing this week?
Speaking of cringe.
Yeah?
Laura, you saw me play this.
Yeah, I got to witness this in real time. The highs and lows that were this game.
That were Tainted Grail, the Fall of Avalon. Which is your mum saying we've got perfectly good Elder Scrolls at home.
Yeah, if you are perhaps someone who's taking part in a boycott of Microsoft, because as we're going to get to in the news section, they admit they are selling, AI tech to government and military that are doing genocide. You're scratching for some Oblivion. We've got Oblivion at home.
Yeah, and I've been writing my review of it, and my review starts off by talking about John Carpenter's The Thing, and one of the unique traits of the titular antagonist, The Thing, in that it creates perfect copies of its host, of the things it consumes, and those copies are so authentic, it will even copy things like a weak heart and have a heart attack. That's the Fall of Avalon. The Fall of Avalon is to the Elder Scrolls what The Thing is to Norris. It is such an accurate reproduction, such a perfect mimicry of a Bethesda game, that it is a broken piece of shit.
You know how when Skyrim launched, you couldn't leave too many doors open? Or your save file would become irreparably broken because it was tracking the open or closed state of every door, and that could physically break the memory cap of your save file?
Yeah.
That's the flavour of authentic Bethesda replication we've got going on
I
here.
lost about 6 hours of gameplay because of something like that. There was some save file corruption bug that wouldn't let me get past level 7. like character level 7.
It was a real, we don't know the cause, but if you play too much of the game, it'll just happen kind of bug.
It's been hotfixed at the expense of my progress. I was helping them debug it.
Did you have to go back to square one, or could you go back to that one kind of working save?
I was able to stay from level 7.
Okay.
So I got my skeletons back. I've reached a point now, because the game started off where I thought, like, this is weirdly difficult. Very sort of...
When it first threw you into that open world, like, everything was very strong, was killing you in a few hits, and, like, notably, every enemy, no matter how shambling, had, like, a real good fucking dash 12 feet forward to close the distance on you move.
Yeah, they all
Which did not make it easy for you to be a wizard, like, firing from a distance.
No.
Wasn't very easy.
No, probably great for, like, shield users with, like, using the parry. However, the turnabout has been remarkable. I've got an army of skeletons now. I can summon 5 at once. And I normally kill anything before the skeletons get close, because I've got a lightning bolt that is now just the point and win button. I am wearing an occult beekeeper outfit. That's been good. And I'm collecting cobwebs to give to the bee queen. This game plays exactly like Skyrim from 15 years ago, or Starfield from last year. It is... I can't emphasize enough how this is just the Elder Scrolls. It is just exactly Skyrim. But on a smaller budget, a much smaller budget. And there's a lot to criticize this game about. A lot. However, I'm going to be very interested in some of the reviews, because I feel like this game is going to get a lot of shit for the exact same stuff Bethesda gets a pass on, except this game isn't backed by Microsoft money. And it would feel almost unfair to ding this for the amount of bugs and crashes and breakages if you're any critic who has given Bethesda a pass. Because otherwise, this is just the Elder Scrolls, but cheap and weird. And not weird in a, like, they've gone a bit esoteric with it. Weird in a, why is the dagger skill tree under perception? The skills are amazing, by the way. You've got strength covers your melee weapons, except daggers, which are in perception. Your bows, which you'd think you'd need good perception for, they're in dexterity. There is one stat called practicality, which handles crafting, the prices of goods, and how much damage you do to enemy weak points. It's all over the place, and yet enjoyably flexible.
Well, maybe the dagger's tied to perception so that you know if you've brought a knife to a gunfight.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. Perception also handles persuasion.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know if it was a translation thing. But they've basically been... It's not the stealth thing, because visibility and noise is under dexterity, but all the other stealth stuff is in perception, which I guess they've just taken to mean, to be sneaky, you must be aware.
And it works with persuasion, too, because that requires an understanding, an awareness of what the other person is looking for in the conversation. Yeah. It's the basis of empathy.
There is a logic. There is a logic to it. It's just not a logic that's intuitive to the genre.
Yeah, it's not what we have always done, which is interesting.
But I like it.
Yeah.
This game does very little original, almost nothing, but character progression I do quite like. The skill trees are interesting, and they offer some really nice synergies. Like, I'm running a magic user that specializes in summoning, which has its own skill tree. And there's nice synergistic skills in there. Like, my summons get health regeneration now, based on the rate at which my mana regenerates. And my mana regeneration has a skill attached that makes it faster relative to how many summons I have. So it becomes this nice little feedback loop. And there's all sorts of things in there where, in its own weird, sprawling, chaotic way, it's sort of elegant. Another interesting thing, and I don't know if it's intentional, because it does feel OP at times, but then as someone who just did a video about like game breaking and how in single player it's fair game, I don't mind. But I don't know how intentional it was. But they do the Skyrim thing, or the Elder Scrolls thing, of the more you do something, the better you get at it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of basic skills you can have a go at whenever you want without needing to invest skill points, which includes all of the crafting, the lock picking, athletics, running around, all of that. But it's so much less restrictive here. You don't have to ever invest skills to unlock new things to craft. If you just keep crafting, you will get better. And there is a crafting skill tree, which will allow you to do things like, there's always a chance you'll craft a weaker version of the item, and one of the skills you can spend a point on is to never craft a weak item. So you can hone it, but you're never locked out of it. Which means I haven't invested a damn thing in anything stealthy, but I can pick any lock I want, and just rob everything blind. And I've got the skill points spare, which is good, because actually leveling up feels like it would feel like a bit of a slog, because it takes quite a bit of time. But because you can have a go at a lot of other things, you don't feel it so much, because you're always getting positive feedback. You level the other stuff up really quick, like the passive leveling. So you are constantly being told that you're getting better at crafting, you're getting better at running. So you still get that hit of, I am getting stronger. So I really like that. Otherwise, the story is there. It's an excuse plot. It's been translated. That's all I'll say about that. Performed entertainingly, really exaggerated, over-the-top performances, which helps bring a lot of levity against what is an incredibly bleak and depressing world. But it's also just full of such silly shit that it's okay. At least when it's not trying to be edgy. Which it doesn't do often. But there has been one. Basically, one of the first bits of text, like a book that you can pick up, is a page. They basically do the lusty Argonian maid thing. It's an erotic novel excerpt, and it's quite
fucking beautifully written.
Oh yeah,
it's breasting boobily down the stairs.
Gorgeous
fashion.
Bit of cringe, like laying love siege to the alabaster pillars between her legs. All this shit.
Oh, he used his meat battalion to knock down the walls of the city or whatever. It's like that kind of schlock.
Chapter that first excerpt is quite funny in a cringy way. You're better than that second one, Tainted Grail. Yeah. You are better than just what is incredibly rapey.
It's
put too fine a point on it.
It's whiplash, because that first one is so obvious and in your face that you're probably going to see it. Sets up an expectation that's like, oh no, this is just quite dryly written non-consent.
Yeah, and I feel like they tried to add a bit of doubt in that it was like con non-con kind of thing, which don't put that in your game. I have absolutely no judgment for anything that y'all are doing, like, among your consenting adults, she says, sounding really old-fashioned. Like, there's a ton of, like, basically, I'm very accepting of people's interests, but non-con in a game without any warning, no. And they don't do a good job of establishing any con, so it really does just read like a description of a sexual assault, which does come totally out of left field. I don't know if they were trying to be funny or if they were trying to be gritty and edgy. It's neither. It's not funny, and it's not even really offensive. It's just sort of revolting and a bit pathetic. Like, I just looked at it and I'm like, really? Just out of nowhere like that? And it's a shame, because the game is better than that. Like, there's some stuff in here that's genuinely quite funny. Like, they send you out to the woods to do a ritual, and it turns out that these druids basically set it up so their ghosts would prank the shit out of anyone who comes doing this ritual, looking for, like, loot or expecting a monster to fight. And these two ghosts show up and start talking, like, about some prophecy or, like, some, you know, dark brooding ritual, and then they burst out laughing because it was a big joke to waste the time of adventurers. And it was really cute. And sometimes I'm laughing at the game for reasons that the game didn't intend. But sometimes I'm laughing at it intentionally, which, you know, that ain't a small thing for a video game. But yeah, just little bits where they're trying to be a bit too dark. And I think they think that's what it is, like gritty and everything. And it's like, just stick to the schlock. You're good at the schlock. So that bit is a real shame. But otherwise, it's one of those games that, and I said this in the review as well, one of those games that makes me re-examine the quantification of the term good video game. Because by the most objective of markers, and by even low standards, this is not a good game. This is not a good product. It crashes all the time. It is busted. I've got... I can think of at least 3 quests off the top of my head that I cannot complete because the NPCs are broken. But it's no worse than anything Bethesda's ever put out in that regard. No worse. And as I say, it's got me... I love games that get me examining the notion of a good game. Because even though it is not a good game, I would be lying through my teeth if I said I hadn't been having a good time with it. For how derivative it is, and it is so derivative. I can't make any excuses for what it does. But I enjoy it. I've been enjoying it.
It was genuinely fascinating watching the curve of your enjoyment or lack thereof up and down with this game. And it really was when the skeletons turned up and that little axolotl that suddenly you were like, oh God. No, yeah. We haven't even talked about that terrified little axolotl.
Randomly out of nowhere, something that I guess I had with me hatched. And this weird 4-eyed axolotl, and when I say 4-eyed, it's got 2 eyes on the front of its face, big. Then 1 smaller eye in the middle of its head, and then 1 smaller eye on its chin. They all blink asynchronistically, so like all different times. So it just looks so weird, and it looks like it should be fucking hideous, but it's weirdly adorable.
It looks like you allowed an axolotl to stare into the void of time itself for a while.
Yeah.
It's happy, but like it's aged beyond its years for an infant, and it does nothing other than, like, you're fighting enemies and it's just looking up at you happily like, hello, are you doing good?
Yeah.
Are you winning?
And it still moves during photo mode, which this game has such
not a good
janky...
photo mode, but...
No, not a good photo mode. It freezes, like, the monsters and stuff on screen in the middle of what they're doing. But not you, the player. You just stand there in a default pose and have to manually choose one of the selection of poses it gives you. So you can't get you just like in the middle of combat. There are a couple of poses that have you like weapon ready and stuff like that, so you can like almost make it look like you're involved in the game that's happening. If you're on a horse, they disable photo mode because they haven't figured out how to make that look good or work, I guess. It's things like that that make me root for this game. Because it is trying its best and much of the time, it's good enough. It's unacceptable, and it's good enough.
Yeah, Comrade, what's the other thing you've been playing this week?
So the other thing I played this week is called Without a Dawn. This is a...
Without a Dawn?
Without a Dawn, D-A-W-N.
I heard dong.
No, it's Without a Dawn. It is a horror visual novel that has incredibly striking art. It's all done in ASCII and just looks incredible. It's a very tight 45 minute experience. You are a young woman in a cabin in the woods where you have gone away to help you come to terms with something. It is an exercise in anxiety and paranoia and just very unsettling, and I think a really interesting and human story. I don't want to give away anything. I will credit the developer for having a content warning at the top and a an acknowledgement that the content warning could contain some spoiler. They have a pretty good approach to their content warning. It is, I think, accurate without fully giving everything away, which is nice. But it's there, and you have the option to not see it if you think that you're going to be comfortable, which is a good approach. The sound design is incredible. The layering of audio, the music, the sound effects, the way it all comes together to amplify the mood of the writing and the visuals is just top notch. I really, really liked this. It is, again, a very short game, which is something that I'm hugely in favor of, particularly with horror and particularly with, very low interaction visual novels. For the most part, you are progressing text. And there are occasions where often actually, you are given two choices of things to express or feel or say. And oftentimes, the second one is merely a matter of giving you an opportunity to get more content, but not really progressing anything. In a lot of circumstances, and this is a credit to the writing, it can be hard to distinguish whether or not these two choices are actually different. And that's very clever. There's just good writing here. On top of everything else. It's a fantastic little package and will make you feel things. And I really, really liked it. Without a Dawn is very cool. It's one of several games that this person has done, or stories that this person's. I'm going to go check them out and look at more of it because they've got something. And this was really cool. So I would encourage people to check it out.
That'll make you feel things.
I bet you would.
Sorry, you said the words in that order.
I know.
And
yep.
had to respond.
Exactly. But yeah.
Game sounds good though.
Yeah, go take a look at it. I think that people would really get something out of it. It's neat. Yeah.
Nice one.
Other than that, I've been playing a few things I can rattle through quickly. I've gone back to playing my Playdate because season 2 of Playdate games is coming out soon. That's going to be doing their a couple of games a week for a few months thing that they do when you first get the Playdate. They're doing a season 2 of that soon. I jumped back in to just check out some stuff that was on the game store on there, and there's a few things that are worth recommending that I've been having some fun with. I played a game called Match 3000, which is a Match 3 roguelite. You have a grid of your little Match 3 and you're trying to match elemental icons, and you have a certain number of moves to earn a certain number of points by doing Match 3 content. The more moves you have left over when you hit that score barrier, the more money you have between rounds to buy modifiers that change your point scoring criteria, and it might be things like you get modifier and multipliers for scoring specifically flame symbols, or getting 4 or matching 4 rather than 3 will give you a point modifier, or vertical rather than horizontal matches give you different point buffs. And it's pretty straightforward. It is just have enough turns left over to have money to buy more upgrades to try and keep ahead of the leveling curve. But for as simple as it is, I think the fact that it is match 3 content where you are going in with like 15 or 20 turns maximum when you're dropped in means that like it is very clearly defined exactly how much match 3 content you have. And that you have to be like, this is not about matching 3 quickly, it is being very thoughtful about which matches you make because you have so limited turns. Has allowed me to jump in and out of it really frequently in little bursts of time. That's been really nice. I played a pretty simple one called Choo Choo Mimic. It is a game where you play as a mimic in a dungeon, dropping down a limited number of items on a top-down grid view of a dungeon design to try and get a person exploring a dungeon to discover your treasure chest and get eaten. And different adventurers in the dungeon will have different rules. Like the very first one that starts exploring the dungeon is, if he hits a wall or an obstacle, he will turn left and keep walking. And understanding like the rules of how a particular person's going to explore the dungeon and trying to set up just enough things that he will walk into your treasure chest and get eaten. Again, very short little bursts of gameplay, but it's pretty charming. The most basic one I played this week was a game called Dance Break Dance, which is essentially musical statues with the crank on the playdate, kind of. It is a game in which you are trying to spin the crank as quickly as possible to get your little on-screen character to dance as erratically as possible, stopping very quickly when the music stops, and you have like a little bar where as long as you haven't cranked too much during that, you'll be fine. And you are trying to like crank as quickly as possible to get your score multiplier going up and to increase the rate of erratic dancing this character is doing, but obviously that's going to make it harder to stop on command when the cops come in and try and tell you to stop dancing. It's very simple, very basic. The visual design of your little blob character dancing is entirely what sells that game. It is... I've never seen a little blob with fewer cares in the world than this thing, and that's pretty adorable. It's an incredibly light game that is very easy to... Like, if you want to be very cautious about it, you could high score chase in that game by just, like, very slowly doing the thing and going, I'll just play this for ages and I'll never risk it, but you want to be cranking that thing as fast as possible, because the little guy's just having the best fucking time. Which, I kind of like that as an incentive, is I just want to see the little guy have a good time. What the Crow? Very basic game. You are a tiny little crow set loose in a woman's house, trying to cause chaos. You have 2 buttons. Smack stuff over, or jump and flap your wings. You can hide behind objects that are large enough to not be seen by the human in the house. So you are trying to strategically work out where to leave things unsmashed that you can maintain to hide behind. Trying to avoid getting too greedy that you leave yourself without good stealth hiding points. And the last one I've been playing is one called Escape the Arcade, which is you get shrunk down in and put in one of those arcade claw machines and you're trying to escape. It is a puzzle game where you're using the crank to like scroll through an environment, and then there will be a lock-based door that you're trying to get through that somewhere in this image tapestry you scrolled through will be the clues that you need to interpret to understand how to get through the lock. Like, one of the early ones was, I was scrolling through this sort of Egypt-inspired scene, and I had to work out that, like, oh, the things I'm seeing in the scene are meant to be like the teeth of a key, and I'm looking to make this key match these bits of environment that were there to sort of match a shape. It's very deliberately obtuse about what it is you're looking for in the environment, so you're having to go back and forth and go, oh, that's what you've hidden in the environment, that's my clue to getting through the puzzle. The art's pretty charming, and it's not overly complex, but it's a nice little artsy, just looking for lock-solving things. None of these are particularly world-shattering, but particularly Macho 3000 and Choo Choo Mimic I have been putting a lot of my time into this week, just in between other things, and both of them have been real good bite-sized experiences I've been having a lot of fun with. So yeah, is that everything we've played this week?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been waiting for a game to unlock, because I'm fascinated by it, premise-wise, called Blades of Fire. It's, I thought it was out today, it's out tomorrow apparently, so today by the time of recording. It's What If a Souls-like, but we made the entire point of the game weapon degradation, so I can't fucking wait to see. The one bit of coverage I saw of it wasn't keen, wasn't fond of how it's been done, but I am very interested in what if weapons breaking was the point of a Souls-like. So, next week, I'll have thoughts on that.
I'm very curious to hear about that. Yeah, a couple of quick newsy bits. First one we got this week. Microsoft has acknowledged that it did indeed supply AI technology to Israel's Ministry of Defense.
Oh.
But, to hear Microsoft respond to it, they did an internal investigation and they found no evidence that the technology was used to target or harm people in the conflict in Gaza.
Fuck off.
No, you can't see what our investigation found. You have to take our word for it.
Fuck right off.
Yeah.
Whenever a corporation says internal investigation, immediately they've told you nothing we've said beyond this point now matters. Internal investigations are bullshit, have always been bullshit. That's a tacit admission that they're covering their backs and their tracks. That's what an internal investigation is. Second of all, it doesn't matter if the thing you sold is being directly used in the genocide.
This is the point I was going to get to,
The genocide is kind of the troubling bit.
Yeah, look, whether I believe you or not, Microsoft, that whether your stuff was directly used by Israel's Ministry of Defense for dropping bombs on children, the point is, Israel's Ministry of Defense is dropping bombs on children, and you're still willing to say, and I quote, "Our relationship with the Israel Ministry of Defense is structured as a standard commercial relationship." The problem is that you have a standard commercial relationship with a defense ministry dropping bombs on children. You might insist that you were selling them a military tech that they were using for military operations that weren't the genocide. Maybe don't sell tech to a military that's doing a genocide, perhaps.
I mean, yeah. My catering company supplies the odd clan rally. But you know what? None of my donuts have been used to hang anyone.
Right.
That's basically what they're fucking saying. You realise, right? The people that are, like, the reason there is a boycott on your product, Microsoft, is not because people think Gears of War is doing the so-called resettling. It's because of the association. You pricks.
But as they say, regarding their internal review, We interviewed dozens of employees and assessed documents and have found no evidence to date that Microsoft's Azure and AI technologies have been used to target or harm people in conflict in Gaza. And I'm like, if your investigation was you investigated Microsoft's end, yeah, you're probably not going to find in your office's Microsoft the evidence that Azure AI was used to drop bombs on people in Gaza. The evidence of that, if it exists, would be over in Israel's Ministry of Defense, which you have not done a review of.
Yeah.
What you have told us is Microsoft's documents say that Microsoft doesn't know they dropped bombs on anyone.
And I don't care if it's direct.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's direct. If you're providing material support to a nation that is engaging in a genocide, you're participating in the genocide. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah.
You're making it easier for them to do a genocide by allowing them to use your resources.
Any products of yours that they're using that make life easier for them mean that they have more free time to do the genocide.
I wouldn't rent out a room in my house to a serial killer who's murdering people on my street.
Yeah.
Well,
I wouldn't do
hold
that.
On. Hey, who? Well, let's hear this person out. Like, what are the conditions? Who are they targeting specifically? You know,
well, all I
there's
can
some wiggle
tell
room.
you is that I ran an internal investigation of the house, and there's no tarp put down in that room. So my house isn't being used as the murder scene.
Perfect.
I've counted all the kitchen knives in the drawer. They're all accounted for, except for one, but, you know, that could go anywhere. Fucking hell, Microsoft, you absolute pigs.
Yep. Speaking of other companies that are in some hot water this week, I showed you this while you were visiting, Steph, but Bungie's in some trouble over Marathon. Yeah, so here's the short version. An alpha was released for Marathon, which is Bungie's next big game, and people noticed that there was seemingly some stolen artwork in it. More than that, an artist at 4NT1R34L, Anti-Real, I think that's meant to say, an artist called Anti-Real, I'm going to call them, noticed that an entire series of poster designs that he made in 2017 have been 100% just lifted and used, slapped all over vehicles, spaceships in Marathon, with zero tweaks to them. This entire poster series he did has just been, like, sliced up into component parts and slapped over ships in Marathon.
Fucking gross.
This gets worse. It becomes undeniable because, like, this artist has, like, a signature icon, like, an icon they use as their artist signature, which is all over the fucking game. Because there's a piece of art he did that was a strip of squares with symbols in them, and they didn't realise one of them was literally this artist's signature, so they've just put it fucking everywhere in the game. Bungie's initial response was, well, we see the issue. There was one rogue, low-level, entry-level position artist who, has since been identified and has been let go from the project, and we're terribly sorry. Except that doesn't seem to be the case. Because what seems to be the case is the senior artist on the game has been following the artist that was stolen from on social media for a very long time.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And is one of that artist's, like, not that huge of a number of social media followers. It sure seems like the senior artist on the game might have been a little involved in stealing hundreds of examples of art off of this guy's page, not fucking tweaking it at all and slapping it on ships. Actually, no, I say not tweaking it at all. There's one example where the artist's, like, the name of the series of art prints was on a piece of art. They didn't erase it entirely. They tried to erase it and, like, 80% opacity'd it out. But you can still kind of read the name of the art print series on the ship.
Like, I want to be charitable on some level, because these projects are so fucking huge, right? And I can see a scenario where somebody involved in the process is like, this is the aesthetic we should go for. And we're going to temporarily put these items in places so that we, and then rework them to give it its own style. But this is this is basically what we're going for. And then forgetting about it. But the scale and scope of this is so vast that it's impossible to, give that grace.
Yeah, if it had been one of these things had slipped through, it's like, okay, this was one of a dozen things on your mood board and you forgot to replace it. This is... Someone looked at this entire art series and went, all of this goes in. Because, you wouldn't need to half-assedly erase the name of the art print series if you were always intending to replace this.
Exactly, yeah.
It's quite gross. It's not even the first time that Bungie's been accused of this. People have pointed out that, and have been re-digging back up with Destiny 2. There was a lot of allegations of stolen artwork just ending up slapped on stuff.
And plagiarists never
in
stop
that game.
One.
Yeah, so, that's not fun. But we do have a fun story to end on today, which I don't know if either of you have seen, but I want you to go click on this story in the Discord chat that we've got. This is the Baldur's Gate 3 story, about badly painted miniatures.
Those are badly painted miniatures.
Oh,
yeah,
there's
a company called WizKids that
I
did
know
a
WizKids well. WizKids, and they've been doing this for 25 years now. You may recall back in the day there was a game called Hero Clicks.
Yeah.
And that was them, and it was always shittily painted plastic miniature figurines. But
Yeah, I've put a new link in for you, Steph, that you can go through the Reddit and look at each individual sculpt.
Supposed to be Shadowheart.
Yeah. The Shadowheart one has been compared by people to that time when someone tried to fix a painting of Jesus and really fucked it up. But you can look through all of them.
Oh my god.
Every one of these paint jobs is absolutely unfucking forgivable.
Do you remember last week where I talked about Hero Gladiators? And
them
being the worst painted miniatures I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
It's been 40 years and they've been topped.
Yeah. So...
Oh, I want them.
The creators have apologized and they're refunding people and all this, that, and the other.
Fuck that.
But
if you want
a laugh this week, go look at the images of the WizKids Baldur's Gate 3 paint job. And I agree with you, Steph. I want to get one of the bad ones. I want to get one of these bad sets before they vanish into the ether.
I would kill.
If anyone has one of these sets of bad prints and is willing to bad paint jobs and is willing to part with them, I'd be interested.
These are so bad that it is a little bit surprising to me that they made it out into the public at all. I know the standard is low with WizKids, but that's... wow.
Yeah.
Fucking Hasbro.
Is it that Icons
Amazing.
of the Realms, right?
I believe so.
Oh, I think they're still on Amazon.
If you can get one of the bad ones, if you can get one and it is the bad ones, let me know because I'll pick one up. So there we go. There's a little bit of lightness to end the day on.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Laura.
Yeah.
The work you produce is of significantly higher quality than that of the fine folks at WizKids. And
I'm very glad to say yes.
And after I've really put it over that strongly, would you like to tell the listeners all about that work?
Yeah, you can find the stuff I'm doing at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere on the internet. Blue Sky, YouTube, Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills. The big one we've got coming up is Friday, June 6th at 4 p.m. UK, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. We've got this year's Access Ability Summer Showcase. It'll be available with American Sign Language, British Sign Language, audio descriptions, whatever you need. tune in for that. I am very excited about some big things that are happening, that are brewing around it this year. It seems like there is going to be a lot more eyes on it this year, and that's great, and I can't wait for people to see more. So, check out the Accessibility Summer Showcase. It's about 2 weeks after you hear this episode of Podquisition. What about you, Conrad? Where are you out on the internet?
I am currently on Amazon.com looking at the description for the D&D Icons of the Realms Baldur's Gate 3 character box set. And the first bullet point says in full caps, industry leaders in pre-painted miniatures. You can find me on Blue Sky at Conrad Zimmerman. You can hang out with me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thatconradzimmerman. I'm on Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays. You can buy anti-capitalist propaganda and Jimquisition merchandise at mercenarycreative.com. Got Lob Sterling stickers, got Commander Sterling stickers, got shirts, got totes, got stuff. Come check it out. And everything I do online gets supported through Patreon at patreon.com/fistshark. And you know who else has a Patreon? Stephanie Sterling.
That's true. And I guarantee you the Patreon money will not be used to buy the WizKids Baldur's Gate 3 figures. My freelance money, on the other hand, is fair fucking game. So, as I click by on that, let me just tell you that my Patreon is on patreon.com/Jimquisition, which supports this podcast, the web series, and reviews on thejimquisition.com. Hopefully we'll have a review of Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, if not up now, then soon. Video games coming out next month. June 17th, Date Everything comes out. I am one of the writers for that game. I'm very excited about it. June 24th, Quantum Witch comes out. I am also one of the writers on that game. Very excited about that. Both these games will feature it, but I've worked very hard on my contributions to those games. I'm incredibly proud of it. Do check them out. They both have Steam pages and wish lists, and Quantum Witch also has a demo. Got more stuff coming with the other games I associate with. I have been officially announced for a match on August 10th in Manchester for Pinfall Wrestling. However, the return to the ring, my big comeback for July 18th in Leeds, is still on. More details for that will come soon. Other than that, thank you all so much. Commander Sterling, Instagram, Blue Sky, all of that. Thank you so much for listening and all of your support, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.